Hello everyone and welcome to another track preview, bringing it back for week number 3. Going to be going over the 2 Reach Throwback tracks first, and then we'll be going over the 1 Firestone Firehawk track in the back half of the video. So the first one that we're taking a look at here is Road America. We're doing GP and SX this week in the Reach Throwback. So we did the Oval GP week 1, we did the Oval SX week 2, now week 3 we're doing the GPSX, so mixing it up all throughout the first few weeks. But yeah, so this first track's one that I'm very familiar with, Road America. This one is, I would say, of the GPs that we're racing in the Reach Throwback, I would say this one is about in the middle. It's interesting though, because this one can actually be very punishing, because as you'll see, if you're running the track properly, you shouldn't be bogging anywhere. You should be running full out everywhere around the track. So in a way, that kind of makes this one potentially one of the more punishing tracks, because you're not braking anywhere. You're not letting off anywhere. So if you do make a mistake and you wreck, it can be very, very, very punishing on this track with how important the momentum is and keeping up the momentum is. One thing that'll help with that, though, is that, of course, we're going to be doing heats for this track. So this will be the track that'll get the heats. Of course, with Snake Run, we have the random gate, so no real need for that, but we will have them for this track, so that'll maybe help with track position and stuff like that. And getting used to it as well, because as you can tell with the way the track is formed, with how wide it is, it's pretty tight, actually. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of room to go, maybe just enough to go like 3 wide, and even then you're not going to be going 3 wide into a turn. And a lot of punishing areas, like if you run a little too wide, like back there, you can see if you run a little too wide, get into those rocks. If you go a little too far inside, get into the rocks. But yeah, intermediate GP should be fun. Looking forward to racing on this one. Always love Road America. And now we're moving on to Snake Run. So interestingly, I would actually rank Snake Run kind of similar to Road America as far as the difficulty goes compared with the other tracks in our schedule. I would say it's about an intermediate. It's somewhere right in the middle. Not too difficult, not too easy, because there are some parts of this track that are kind of sneakily difficult. You have a lot of momentum on this track, so if you're running a lot of the berms, which in general you want to be doing, you have a ton of momentum, and taking the berms properly can be kind of difficult. And in some of these sections where the track is like winding left and right, it can be kind of difficult to chain the berms. So like this part in particular, chaining this berm into this next one can actually be kind of difficult without bogging. It doesn't look difficult, but give it a few shots and I'm sure you'll see what I mean. It can actually sneakily be kind of technical. And one thing that I like about Snake Run that kind of separates it from a lot of the old Supercross tracks, and we'll see it in this lap, because that first lap I just ran outside lines, which again, in general, you're going to want to be doing. This lap, I go for some inside lines. And on a lot of these old Reach tracks, the inside line is kind of an afterthought. And a lot of the times, you need to hit the berm to even clear the jump in a lot of these old Supercross tracks. Now, for Snake Run, this is not the case. Now, you do have to be kind of careful with how tight you're cutting the insides. As you can see, like, that landing was kind of close. Like, if you cut it a little too tight in some areas, and I definitely recommend whenever you get to practice this track, like, experiment with it a little bit and kind of, like, feel it out for the different inside lines, like how tight you can cut it. Even this last one, I go pretty wide, and it's like, kind of close there. It's not the greatest landing. But yeah, like, you can take the inside line, though, around an entire lap. And as you'll see, as we complete the lap here, it was only about a second off of the lap where I took all the outside lines. And that's very unique. A lot of those old Reach tracks, that's not the case. You can't even clear most of the sections with the inside line, let alone run a whole lap with the inside line and only be a second off. And I know a second's a lot of time, but trust me, like, compared to a lot of those old tracks running the inside line on Supercross, that's actually pretty good. So it opens up the variety, and like, you can get pretty racy on Snake Run with being able to run those inside lines. So it's something that I like about the track. But now we're on board for Firestone Firehawk Week 3, taking a look at Lancaster. And some of these turns may look a little weird right off the bat, and that is because Lancaster's got all the classic, unique Firestone Firehawk traits throughout the track here. So, as you can see, It's quite the unique GP track. So we'll go for another lap here, and I'll show where they are. So yeah, if you didn't figure it out, there are grab volumes around the track, some slippery corners. Here's one, and that one's very visible. I mean, you got to be able to see that one. There is technically one right here, but this is over, or I think so, but that's a jump, so it's a little bit different. But still, be aware of it. And yeah, of course, like some jumps here throughout the track. So more of that Firestone Firehawk uniqueness, and also like this rough patch on the inside here. Don't want to get stuck up in that. Classic hairpins with the poles on the inside. And then, so grab volume on the inside of the cones in this section, but on the outside, no grab volume. And some of those cones, as you saw, I made a little contact right there. Some of them you actually can make contact with, so you got to be aware of that too. Another grab volume here. That one's very tricky. I would say that that's probably the trickiest one. The one with the trees can be pretty tricky too, but honestly, it's not that bad after you get a few runs at the inside. But yeah, that last one I think can be pretty difficult. But taking one more lap, maybe switch up some lines here. But yeah, and of course on the first lap going off the grid, you're gonna get thrown into that first grab volume turn right away. So that's always very tricky. And back in the day, that was always a risky part of the race. Was that first lap, you're getting thrown right into that first grab volume, and it's difficult to make it too wide, especially on a start. You know, at the start, somebody could get a good start. It could be like a 3 wide situation. It's going to be a very important part of the race. It's going to be like that first turn, getting through it clean. And I think here, the inside is more of like a passing line. Like you can kind of do some block passes with it. I think the outside might be the way. Interestingly enough, you know, rare for a GP, but you could do some crazy block aggressive moves with the inside, so it's pretty cool. And of course the jumps and stuff like that. But yeah, this track's very unique. I'm honestly a big fan of this one. I'm really looking forward to racing this one again. And I hope everyone else is too. But yeah, that's going to close it out for the week 3 track preview. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you in week number 3.